Hey guys, welcome back to Dark Souls 3. In the last part, we got our asses handed to us by Sister Frida. And in this episode, I think we're going to be defeating her. Now, you may notice some things are different. Since the last video, I took the liberty of switching up my moveset a little bit to the Onyx Blade instead of the Moonlight Greatsword. I probably will be switching back to the Greatsword after this fight. You'll see, based on the attack power... Oh, it actually does more damage. Okay. Well, that's good. I also changed up my ring setup, so that might be why the AR is higher on the weapon. I went through the liberty of changing it, since in the last episode it was pretty clear that the Moonlight Greatsword's magic damage was being resisted by Frida. So I switched to the Onyx Blade to see if the dark damage on the Onyx Blade would be any better, and turns out it was. I actually did a few test runs before starting this recording with this Onyx Blade, and it's pretty effective against her. I was able to get to phase 3 pretty easily. Obviously, I also changed my ring setup. I don't think we're going to be using Pyromancy in this fight, since our Onyx Blade should be good enough. That's also why I took the liberty of putting my Estus up to 15 instead of 12, and getting rid of our Ashen Estus, since I think the extra healing will be more worthwhile. The Dark Clutch Ring will give us more damage with the Onyx Blade for the time being, and the Ring of Steel Protection will hopefully offset some of the physical damage absorption that I'm losing from using the Clutch Ring. And this is pretty much our setup. Like I said, I had some successful attempts. Obviously, I didn't want to kill her off screen, though, because that would have been a little anticlimactic. So here we are. We're going to be attempting Sister Frida again, and hopefully we're going to be defeating her this time with a better weapon. So yeah, let's see how this goes. Also, the Green Blossom, I believe, overrides the effect of the Black Bug pellets, so we only have one left. So I think I'll probably be using the Black Bug pellet during Phase 3 just to mitigate some of the dark damage that she does. And hopefully that will also help. But here we go, guys. Once again, I'm going to mute my mic. I'm sorry if there isn't really any commentary in this video, and if this ends up taking the whole video as well. But hopefully you guys enjoy it nevertheless. Let's try again. Well, as you can see, I am doing substantially better against her. The only issue is that in her third phase, she does not fucking stop attacking. I cannot find a good moment to attack her in her third phase because she's got two scythes and she's swinging them around like a goddamn kid at a birthday party swings around a fucking ribbon. It is the most annoying goddamn thing about this boss fight. It is otherwise a very cool boss fight, but that one specific thing about it is what makes it just so annoying. So once again, I guess we'll try again, and I hope eventually we will get this. I think that is one of the closest calls I've ever had in a boss fight. I needed all of my healing items. I was brought to less than 100 health, and I was forced to use my pyromancy at the very end because frankly I was way too nervous to attack her head on at that last moment there. But sure enough, folks, we did manage to defeat Sister Frida, her father, Ariandel, and of course, the resurrected BLACKFLAME Frida. And so ends the Ashes of Ariandel DLC. That is pretty much all there is to that DLC, as far as boss fights go anyway. There are some areas in that DLC that we didn't explore, and I apologize we didn't get to that. But like I said, I didn't want to really have to go through all of it, because I feel like it would have just taken more time, and it might not have been good, like, YouTube content, so I didn't bother getting too many optional items in that DLC, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it nevertheless. I certainly enjoyed playing through it. So without the Dark Clutch Ring, our Moonlight Greatsword actually does have higher attack power, as you can see there. The only thing is that the dark damage on the Onyx Blade might just be superior to the magic damage, depending on what kind of enemy I'm fighting. But nevertheless, we will switch back to the Moonlight Greatsword, because that is my weapon that I would like to keep using through this playthrough. I feel as though I pretty much had no choice but to use the Onyx Blade for that boss fight, because frankly, Frida's attacks are just insane, and I needed to get as much, I needed to find out as much of her weaknesses as possible so that I wouldn't be stuck on that boss fight forever. I already dedicated an entire video to me just failing at that boss. But nevertheless, we did find the Pyromancer's Parting Flame. And it does have a very interesting weapon art on it too, or weapon skill. You can release the Store of Death Echoes to gain a modest dose of Estus. I'm not entirely sure what that means. Store of Death Echoes? I'm not sure. Does that have something to do with, like, sacrifice one of my bloodstains to get Estus back or something? Is that what that has to do with? Because I can't think of any other... I can't think of any other reason they would call it a Death Echo. But I digress. We're going to upgrade this all the way, because I would actually like to check if this is stronger than our normal Pyromancy Flame. And something tells me it actually is. So let's check that out. Sure enough, it does have about 18 higher fire damage. But on the flip side, it also has about 5 less scaling damage. So in total, when you combine the two numbers together, it's still like plus 13 higher fire damage. Although that just refers to the like its physical attack power. I'm not actually sure if that refers to the damage the Pyromancy Flame does. I think the spell buff stat is what determines that, and the spell buff stat is lower, so I guess it is not as good as a normal Pyromancy Flame, but the weapon skill does have a more promising sort of feature to it. So I guess it depends on, like, how you look at those kinds of things. Anyway, we'll go to where Ledlith was now and see what we can do with Sister Frida's soul, which there is a few more things you can get. The first thing you can get is her Great Scythe, which is a really good weapon. I've seen people use this in PvP, and it is insane how good this Scythe weapon is. It has really good intelligence scaling and even better dexterity scaling, so if you're looking for a spell sword build leaning more towards dexterity rather than strength, then Frida's Great Scythe is one of the best you can get. And of course, the weapon art is pretty much the same as the weapon art that she used against us in the fight. And there are 2 different weapon arts you can do with it, too, which is really cool. And then you can also get the Rose of Ariandel, which isn't very good. But it does have a weapon art that is very interesting in the sense that basically the weapon art with this will make it so you whip yourself and do a small amount of damage to yourself, but in exchange you will receive a boost in miracle damage after you use it. I don't know how long the miracle damage boost lasts, but I'm sure that if you're doing the miracle build, that could be a good weapon for you too. Other than that weapon art, though, I don't think it's a very good weapon, so I wouldn't really use it for anything other than the weapon art. But as always, despite how difficult she was, I think we are just going to use her soul. As you can see here, I did level up my intelligence, my faith, and my dexterity a bit, just so I would be able to use the Onyx Blade for that fight. So I did do a bit of grinding off screen, but it wasn't really anything you guys may have missed out on. I went to Anor Londo and I farmed off of the Silver Knights on the Giant Staircase, so really, it was like 25 minutes of grinding that I obviously didn't want to record. But I digress, guys. Yeah, that was Ashes of Ariandel DLC. I gave it a lot of criticism in my earlier videos for being sort of very cheap, enemy types being very dumb, and I'm still a man of my word on that. I'm not gonna like backpedal like other people do. I'm not gonna name drop anyone, but I ain't gonna backpedal and say, oh, this game is great after I like right after I give it criticism. No. I'm a man of my word. I still believe that there are a lot of enemy types in this DLC that are bullshit, and my stance on that is very firm. And you're free to disagree, of course, because plenty of people do. And yeah, it's just a difference of opinion. If you don't agree, you don't agree, and that's fine. But anyway, with all that out of the way, despite all of the annoying enemy types and everything else, I do still think this is a good DLC. I just don't think it's quite as good as the second DLC, which is where this bonfire will take us. And I think we're going to be leaving off the episode here and starting off the next DLC in the next part. And obviously I'll have to make a new video, a new video thumbnail for that as well, even though like this DLC lasted all of about 3 or 4 episodes. But I think the second DLC will last a tad bit longer since there's a lot more to do in the second DLC. But in any case, I hope you guys enjoyed watching my playthrough of this DLC. I hope you look forward to watching my playthrough of the next DLC. And thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.